ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Wrestle Talk with Bear and B Dub on another edition of B Dub's Thoughts. Now we are halfway through all of the WrestleManias. Now we are getting ready to go to one of my personal favorite WrestleManias, and that is WrestleMania 15. Boy, I remember the build up for this one like it was yesterday. Um, this one, in my opinion, was built from the Survivor Series on. The Survivor Series in 1998. WrestleMania being March 28th, 1999, live in the First Union Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, like I said, I remember the build up for this one, starting with Survivor Series when The Rock became the WWF champion, and he would go on and be known as the corporate champion. And he had some battles with Mankind. Ultimately, Stone Cold was still in the mix. At the time, him and Vince hate each other, and you knew that sooner or later, The Rock and Austin would cross paths. And boy, did it cross at WrestleMania 15. But before we get to that one, um, like I said, a great WrestleMania. For the longest time, I had to say that this was probably um, my favorite. If you had, like I said, WrestleMania 9 being my favorite, if I would say that 15 would definitely be 1A. Just because, all right, so WrestleMania 9 was my favorite in the era in which I was, um, adolescent. WrestleMania 15 was my favorite as a teenager. They brought this one in with one of my favorite groups, my sister's overall favorite group, Boys to Men, singing America the Beautiful. And, the Hardcore Championship. Now, if you remember, this is when the New Age Outlaws were together, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg Jesse James. And Road Dogg was always going after the Hardcore Championship, and Billy Gunn was going after the Intercontinental Championship. Somehow that switched one Monday night on Raw, and the two, Billy become hardcore champion, Road Dogg becoming the IC champion. And, every time I watch this WrestleMania, I just enjoy it. We had the world title, tag team title matches. It must be noted that sadly this was the last WrestleMania for the great Owen Hart, who would unfortunately pass away about 2 months later. This one, him and Jeff Jarrett were the tag team champions, and they defended against D'Lo Brown and Test. D'Lo and Test, for those who don't remember, won the rights to the tag team title match on Sunday Night Heat. So yeah, this is speaking of Sunday Night Heat. This was the first WrestleMania before there was a Sunday night, when there was a Sunday Night Heat around. So just thought I'd note that. So D'Lo and Test won the match, but they of course didn't win the tag team titles. This was the Brawl for All, which this was a true brawl for all. This wasn't scripted or anything, and Bart Gunn would take on Butterbean, and unfortunately, he would get knocked out in the first round. Big Show and Mankind, with the stipulation that the winner would be the referee in the match between Rock and Austin. Now everybody knows Mankind leading up to this one wanted to have that WrestleMania moment be in the main event some way or another. Unfortunately, he won, but didn't look like he was going to be able to make it because of the fact that him and Big Show had just completely destroyed him. Chokeslammed through two tables, two chairs, and got himself disqualified, which led to Big Show leaving the corporation because Vince McMahon came out and slapped him, and then he chokeslammed McMahon, which led him going to jail. Then we had another good match on here, Kane and Triple H. I remember this one leading up. This is where China came out. If you remember, China had joined the corporation, and then Kane was a part of the corporation with Vince McMahon, and then China had turned on Kane, and that's when Triple H, it felt like DX was going to be reunited, which X-Pac and Shane McMahon would take on each other later, and they felt like X-Pac would regain his European Championship. That was not to be the case, where Triple H and China would join the corporation, which is one of the famous double crosses at WrestleMania. And that's when Triple H started getting on his mean streak, which will ultimately lead to him becoming the World Wrestling Federation champion later on that August. Sable and Tori, one of my favorite matches at WrestleMania. I was a big Sable fan at the time, which who wasn't? It was a pretty solid match. It wasn't like nothing to write home about. But you could see her wrestling skills getting better from compared to the year before last. She also had a cocky attitude, as I noted last episode. Then the Undertaker and the Big Bossman, Hell in the Cell. I remember me and Bear was talking about this match. He said he didn't really care for it. I did. Undertaker, of course, won. He's undefeated at WrestleMania. Still, the streak's not being noted. But I really enjoyed this match. It was leading up to it. Undertaker was trying to abduct Stephanie McMahon, and he was talking about a higher power. Which, if you don't remember, it was all a thing to go against Stone Cold, which ultimately Undertaker and the corporation and the ministry would combine. But do you guys remember when the Boss Man was hung at the end of the match, and then you see Edge and Christian and Gangrel, who was known as the Brood, fly down from the rafters? So that was pretty interesting. Then we had the World Wrestling Federation Championship match. My opinion, one of the top matches. It doesn't get its respect, but this is the first time Stone Cold and The Rock fought for the WWE Championship, and this was a good match. Leading up to it, I remember sitting back hoping and praying that Stone Cold would win the match. Um, it was a very, very good match. There's nothing, the build up to it. If you remember, Austin came in a shirt, and I remember he noted in one of the DVDs that WrestleMania he forgot his vest. But this was also the first year that they got away from the classic Winged Eagle title. This is the first year the first WrestleMania with the new look WWE Championship belt, which they would have up until 2002. But nonetheless, Stone Cold and The Rock. Stone Cold leaves with the victory. Mankind comes out and he's able to be in the main event. Um, this is when Shawn Michaels was the commissioner, and I thought he was a real good commissioner. He was always entertaining. So, but like I said, this is one of my favorite WrestleManias. WrestleMania 15, in my opinion, one of the best WrestleManias. So I'm interested to know what you guys think. Make sure you let me know. And until then, make sure you tune into the next episode as we get ready to go into WrestleMania 16, also known as WrestleMania 2000, which this WrestleMania grew on me, but I'll get into that on the next episode. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wrestle Talk with Bear and B-Dub. On this edition of B-Dub Starts, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bear and B-Dub. Thank you, everyone.